John C. Reilly.
People are really craving this movie. That's the word on the street.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that stinger. That's great. From Casualties of War to Wreck-It Ralph. Interesting progression.
Yeah.
Interesting career
What a
you've had
long,
so far.
strange trip it's been, baby.
Had it been a goal of yours at all to sort of become part of the Disney universe? Is this something you thought about at some point?
Well, I never had the audacity to think that I would ever be the star of a Disney animated movie, really. Even halfway through the process of making the movie, it hadn't even really sunk in. And then one day I came to work to do one of the recording sessions, and it was getting close to the time the movie was gonna come out, and all of a sudden, my character was all over the front of the animation building, and I was like, oh my God, like, I'm in the front compartment of the Disney train, and it's hurtling down the tracks. Like, how did I get here?
I play Sergeant Calhoun, and I'm the titular character, which is a word I stole from Jack today, in the video game Hero's Duty, which is a first-person shooter game. It's like a virtual reality game, war, and it's violent, and we're fighting the cybugs, and it's pretty awesome.
Fix-It Felix Jr. is just a good guy, and all he wants to do is good and fix things that Ralph wrecks, which is his job, but he just wants things in order and well done. So when Ralph bolts from the game, it kind of throws Felix's world off kilter.
Vanellope on Tweets is a 9-year-old girl. Does that sound like it? Yeah.
That's about right, yeah.
And she's scrappy, and she's got eyebrows like this. She just wants to race. She lives in a game called Sugar Rush. I have not been asked to do this, and it feels so weird.
What did they tell you about the sort of video game world that you're in? Did they ask you to play any video games? Had you already been familiar with them? Or you're just messing around with the mic?
They always showed us any sketches or animatics or anything that they had so far to give us an idea. They're, at the very least, storyboards. You know, there's so much art that is at every juncture of the process of making a film. So we got to see in detail and frame by frame their plan.
Now, this movie has a lot of cameos from real video games, but your video games are fictionalized. You can do whatever you want with it. What sort of video games did they encourage you to play or study, or did they?
They did not.
They did not.
No.
A lot of, if you think about it, these were really just characters, like movie or TV show or anything. And so even though there was a lot of inspiration from like the Donkey Kongs or the Lara Croft, you know, video games, we were just looking at them as characters that we need to give emotion and heart and needs and that kind of thing.
It's interesting though, because in some ways they're not like other characters. They exist in this other kind of metaphysical realm where their existence is coded and they have these very specific rules. How do you build a character with
That is humanity. That you just described.
I see.
It
To
really
a
is.
T.
We each have our own little worlds, and we're stuck in our own little worlds. Sometimes they're of our making in our minds, and sometimes the game is actually the confines of our society. And that's, I think, the bigger message of this movie is if you, you feel confined and you don't like the job or your role in life, take a chance, jump your game. Go into another game where there's going to be a risk. You could die, because if you die in another game, you die. You don't get to reset like your own game. Or you could reap some terrific rewards. So I think that that's exactly what the point of the movie is we're all kind of stuck in our own game.
There was a bit of a controversy when one of the trailers came out over whether Zangief is a bad guy or not.
Oh.
I don't know if you heard about this. Some gamers were like, he's not a boss. He's just kind of a mean
Yeah.
Russian dude.
Believe me, it's like we kind of went over and over this because we really wanted to use Zangief in that way. We really want someone at Badanon who's not evil, but who's kind of a boss character who talks about how he deemed himself as acting bad. I myself, playing Street Fighter, always got my butt kicked by Zangief, so this is payback, Zangief. This is for all those whoopings.
Hey, tell me about Ralph, because Ralph is it an existential crisis, or is he just looking for acceptance?
I think those two things are one and the same, aren't they, in some ways? I mean, he is having an existential crisis because he's looking for acceptance. If you do the same thing for 30 years and you feel like, I'm good at this, but no one appreciates it, that'll give you an existential crisis, right? Or at least it does to him. I think it's a pretty funny way to see someone go through a search for themselves, being a fish out of water in all these different games that he finds himself thrust into.
Now, is there going to be like this Outtakes Reel? They're going to have to bleep out a lot of stuff? Or?
I would love if they did, because I was thinking, God, if they could make a very funny audio blooper reel, because there's kind of an audience there, and it makes it fun. You want to please people. There's all the there's a ton of Disney people and animators and sound guys and all the people that kind of work there on the other side of this glass. It's fun to say something shocking in a little girl's voice.
Are you a hobo?
Listen, I try to be nice. You're mimicking
You're
me.
mimicking me.
That is rude, and this conversation is over.
All right, ladies, the kitten whispers and tickle fights stop now.
When did video games become so violent and scary?